Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Yes, hello and welcome again. This is part 4 of Flood Barrier Prize made homeowners speechless. We talk about Anthony, the Philippine-based homeowner who wants to protect his house, his garage, from the danger of floods. And he got an inquiry, he got a quotation, and he was very shocked because later on, after several meetings with the supplier, suddenly the price went up, and he was not aware about that at the very beginning. And I just want to explain to you what is important, what kind of questions you can ask to avoid such a surprise. And I even don't say that that the supplier did wrong. No? That's not what I say. But sometimes people just ask, how much is a square meter? And I always say, what square meter? We in flood protection, we don't consider square meters as a helpful tool. And because why? We talk about water pressure. And you know that from your swimming lessons when you were a kid, most probably, then you know what does it mean when you dive in the swimming pool or in the ocean. So you always have this small pain in your ears. That is due to the water pressure. And water pressure is very, very dangerous when it comes to flood protection or flooding. It is the same. Water is the same, has the same behavior like termites. You know, it finds every small entrance wherever it is. And when your barriers are leaking because of water pressure, then you will get flooded. It's only a question of time. And that is why it is so essential and so important that you ask the right questions at the beginning of your flood protection project, that you choose the right supplier, and at the end, the right technical solution that fits to your needs, and that also fits to your needs during operation time. What is operation time? In business, it's clear during the operation time of a hotel. For a metro subway, the operation time is perhaps from 5 o'clock in the morning until midnight, when it closes. Some close, some don't. Operation time for an airport, perhaps at Frankfurt, I think it starts at 5:30 in the morning. I'm really not sure about that. I think so. Until 10 p.m. Why? Yeah, they want to reduce the noise for all the citizens, for all those who live close to the airport. So that's why there are opening and closing hours. So operation time. For a homeowner, the operation time is whenever he is at home. And so that can be any time that somebody is arriving or not arriving and leaving. So today we want to talk a little bit about the automatic systems. In the last episode, I was talking about these flood doors, flood gates, and the difference, and what kind of doors you have, a swing hinge flood door, lift hinge flood gate, sliding gate, and a pivoting gate, a four-sided sealed door, heavy-duty gates. And the previous episode 2, part 2, I was explaining these Inero mobile flood barriers. They belong to the group of portable flood barriers, like these are as demountable flood barriers and other demountable flood barriers, of course, as an example. And Windows cover. I did not talk about the Windows protection yet. That will be done in another episode. And today we talk about these automatic systems. So Anthony is just a summary. He was afraid about the climate change. He asked the protection of his house, and 3 parts have to be considered. So it's a house itself, the garage, and the garden. So the whole lot. And the quotation looked good, and later the price went up, and so he was really shocked. So and then he was asking himself the question: is it the right supplier I was choosing? I was selecting? Is it the right technical solution? So 1,000 questions came up, and additional costs for civil works and accessories arise. So that is what we want to avoid. So whenever you ask for a quotation and a solution, make sure that you get a no budget, no surprise quotation. I always call it when we offer anything that is a no surprise quotation. There's a no surprise budget what the customer needs. However, please don't expect that a supplier can exactly tell you every single step from a flood protection project, because that is only possible as long as you have made your homework. And the homework means you have made a design. Of course, most of the people haven't done. Homeowners normally never have a design before they ask a flood protection company. Yeah, but that is necessary, and there are a lot of things that have to be considered. But that is also for another episode. Yeah, today we talk about these automatic systems because Anthony, the homeowner, was thinking perhaps for this price, he could already have thought about an automatic system. And what kind of systems do we have? So there are, let's say, we have a dropping down system. Yeah, that is a kind of roller shutter. Huh? So something, it's not a roller shutter. Huh? That is too complicated. However, there is a dropping down barrier. We call it the drop-down flood barrier. That is a flood barrier that is hidden at the top of a building outside. Yeah? Imagine you have a basement parking, garage of a commercial center, and you drive downstairs. You drive down to the basement. And now the question is, when the heavy rain is coming, how do you protect everything? So you can install a drop-down flood barrier. Yeah. The question is, do you do that at the end of your ramp, or do you do that at the beginning? So I would always try to close the ramp from the beginning, from the top, of course. So, but that is a drop-down flood barrier. Sorry, and the barriers are hidden. The metal sheets are hidden at the top at the building. So you must, the whole installation will be installed flat against the wall of the building outside. No? So easy to understand. And the barrier itself is hidden like a guillotine. No? So I don't want to talk about these times from the French Revolution, 1789, but and then later the guillotine was used quite often in the after Revolution area. But it works similar. However, everything is under control. There are safety units installed. But that is also something what has to be considered. All the safety units, alarm systems, for instance, visual alarm, audio alarm, things like that. Perhaps somebody wants to have a visual control, so you must connect that through a camera to a control center, and so on and so forth. That is a drop-down barrier, and it works with an endless chain. So as I've said already, for basement entrances such as parking garage, you can use it. So maximum is about 2 meters, something like that, 230. It really depends on always I say on the width, 3 meters. Yeah, we got increase for 4 meters and the length was 10 meters or something. That is technically not possible. You can do that. You can do that. You can do everything, more or less. However, it's a question of money. Flying to the moon, yes, it's possible, but you need a lot of money to do that. And for our private homeowner, that is not an option at all. However, you can protect your garage with a drop-down barrier if you have a garage building that have a second floor. So the ground floor and the second floor, at this moment, you have the space above, because what is not a good idea to install these drop-down flat barriers on above a ground floor only, because that is like you install a huge sail. And I don't know whether you ever sailed in your life. I did windsurfing when I was younger, and I was also sailing. And then you know why a boat is moving forward, because of the wind and the sail. And that is what you don't want. So you don't install such a big sail, because this huge barrier at this moment is a big sail on top of your building. You in front of your building, yes, and that is a big difference. So you need at least a second floor for that you can attach it flat to the wall of the building. So it's a vertical operation. It's rising up and will be lowered to close the entrance when the rain is coming. You can do that. That is this basement entrance. I think that's okay. So the other one is flipping up. It's a rising up operation. That is the other one. That is why I was a little bit confused here. It's a kind of self-closing flat barrier. For me, the word rising up is much better, because it rises up. The barrier is it's a vertical movement, and the barrier is hidden in the ground. And it's a vertical operation, so it doesn't drop down, it rises up. And you can do that along streets, along creeks, rivers. What is a little bit difficult, but possible. However, you need a huge foundation for that, and you must dig very deep. Similar to the drop-down barrier that requires space at the top, this self-rising or rising flat barrier, self-closing flat barrier, requires space in the ground. So it's the same thing. So if you have a 2 meter protection, you need about 2 meters at the bottom and another 1 meter, perhaps 3 meters or something. You have to dig deep. And that requires a huge foundation that must be stabilized. And the foundation is not only a little bit of tiny concrete. When you install it along a river, that must be stabilized. Not that the whole area, everything is swimming away, because it swims with the soil. So that's a very important thing. However, when you install it in an urban area in the middle of a city along a creek, then of course there is foundation everywhere, and that should not be the big problem. The next group is a flip-up flat barrier, and this flip-up flat barrier, I forgot to say, this self-rising, self-closing flat barrier works with buoyancy force, so it is not a system that requires electricity. The same for the flip-up flat barrier, and this flip-up flat barrier, there are different brands on the market. This flip-up flat barrier works also with buoyancy force and without buoyancy force. There are two ways. Let me explain first the one without. So the one without works with buoyancy force, and what you need to overcome is gravity of the barrier itself and a kind of spring force. So there's a spring, there's a kind of mechanical construction inside the side channel, and that makes the barrier flip up. And that can be installed also along streets, creeks, rivers, perhaps not. That is not what they normally do. However, it can be installed at long distances as well. The longest one was about 45 meters as far as I know, without middle support. But normally you use it to protect buildings and several buildings. That is why I said 45 meters. Entrances of subway stations, for instance. And the advantage is that the excavation does not require to dig deep. You only need 250, 300 millimeters maximum, depending a little bit on the situation. And that is really not much and very easy to install, especially when it comes to a subway when you have a construction below. That is what happened to us one time, and the customer wanted to have a self-rising flood barrier, and then we told him, look, what is below? But there's our basement and all these kind of things. I said, fine, and where shall what shall we do with the barrier? Because we need space at the bottom. Oh, that is not possible. That means in all these cases where you don't have space, these flip-up flood barriers are the right choice. The advantage is that you can install it in front of a garage as well. And that is a solution that might fit for our Anthony, the homeowner in the Philippines, because he has a garage 5 meter opening, and the flood protection was, I think it was about 1 meter 20 or something in this case. So that is quite easy to install, and it works independently of his presence. That means whenever he is absent, he is not around. So the barrier will do the job the moment there is too much rain and the drainage is overflowing. So the maximum height, you can go up to 2 meters. So that is possible. That is very simple at the end, but very, very tricky, this patented system. And one system that I want to mention, that is the Anheim automatic flip-up flood barrier. Anheim is a brand, and it works automatically with buoyancy force. You don't need any electricity. You become totally independent of any generator or any power consumption or power distribution. You become independent of the power grid. A huge advantage in countries under development, but in any country. Whenever there can always be a disaster, and during times of disaster, don't trust the electricity. So then better you become independent of that. However, for all those who want to have a flip-up system that is under your control, that means you don't rely on the overflowing of the drainage system. By the way, what works perfectly. But imagine you have an industrial complex, a compound, so a factory, and you want to supervise every single entrance, and you already have a control center where people are working and sitting and working in front of all their monitors. Then you can use automatic systems like an RS automatic flip-up flood barrier. RS is a brand. Like all the other brands I mentioned before, Enero, Anheim, CFB, and RS, and many other brands, of course. And this automatic flip-up flood barrier needs electricity, and the electricity triggers the hydraulic systems, the hydraulic cylinders, to lift, to flip up, to make the flip-up flood barrier flipping up. And it needs pneumatics to inflate an inflatable seal to make it watertight, because don't forget, everything must be watertight. We don't talk only about some metal sheets that are moved. No, everything must be watertight, and that is a huge challenge. And there are so many differences when it comes to the technology, and they are price relevant, especially for these automated systems. But that has an influence on the leak rate, on the safety, and on the operation. So that's very detailed already, but that makes a difference. And that is why some people say, I want to have a Mercedes, and others say, bicycle is okay for me. All right, up to you. And there are people who say, I want to drive a Ferrari because of this and that. Then they get everything. And if you try to duplicate a Ferrari, you probably can do that at home if you are gifted a little bit and you have some skills, but it will never be a Ferrari. Because you always miss something. Something is always missing, and the quality of the pieces will not be the same. And that is the same in flood protection. And here, it is not about, I like this car and it's fancy, I have so much fun. It's not about fun. It's about the safety of your family, the safety of your employees, the safety of your inventory, the safety of the citizens when it comes to public servants, public leaders, public facilities. Now, okay, so the flip-up flood barrier for the garage is a good alternative for demountable flood barriers. For instance, if nobody is at home and can operate these demountable barriers, no need to install a middle support for demountable flood barriers for these 5 meters. However, the previous supplier told Anthony, you don't need a middle support. Yeah, that is true. For 5 meters and demountable flood barriers, you don't need a middle support. And that is what he did not tell. And you have only one span, but one span is 5 meters long. That reminds me always about Buster Keaton movies from the 1920s. And these were the movies without any audio signal. Huh? And perhaps you probably have seen all these old things with Charlie Chaplin as well in the later years. Huh? When the people were walking around with these long wooden bars and wooden planks, and there was always an accident when they were turning. And that is the same thing. I try to handle a 5 meter long aluminum span. My gosh, that is wobbling. That is not stable anymore. That is why when you install it, first, it is not that handy to install it, but the moment it is installed, you need a back brace. And that is what the supplier didn't tell. So this vertical support has almost the same weight compared to the middle support and must be connected to the foundation. So middle support you use when you split the 5 meter beams into 2 parts of 2.5 meters. Yeah, and more or less. But both the middle support and the back brace, and the back brace is only stabilizing these long Buster Keaton spans. Both need to be connected to the foundation. So drilling is evident. Yeah, so that is something you should consider. But there are pros and cons. Everything is possible. That is why these products are available at the market. Yeah, that was part 4. Flood barrier made homeowner speechless, because our Anthony did not discuss all these questions at the beginning. And later came the surprise when it came to foundation, to additional drilling, civil works, relocating water pipes and electrical systems. And he was not aware that he needs a storage system and the anchoring system for the demountable flood barriers. And now he is considering to install the Anham automatic flip-up flood barrier in front of his garage, because he also doesn't want to dig almost 2.50 meters deep for the self-rising one. What is also a good solution for other applications. Yeah, not for him. And next time, Anthony knows very well that first he is discussing all these questions. And what is always a good idea is visit us if you are able at our headquarters in Asia. So that is located in Clark, Freeport zone. Clark is 80 kilometers north of Manila, with an own airport, daily flights from the Emirates and from Qatar Airways, and flights to Singapore, to Incheon in South Korea, and to Hong Kong, and to many other places as well. So very easy from the airport. It's only now they have a new terminal. Before it was only 7 minutes, but now it's about 15 minutes. So very close. And then we can show you around. And if you are in Europe, contact our partners, RS Stepanek KG or Anham, Clubshot GmbH. So, but you find all these addresses in the internet. And the same is for our partners of Flood Control International, who are who handling the market in the US and in Australia, and of course in the United Kingdom and in Ireland. Yep. So my golden nugget for you at the end of this episode is: consider an automatic system when you are not sure whether you are at home when the heavy rain starts, or if nobody else can install your portable flood barriers. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day. Do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode. I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with a new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.floodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.